As parents, we constantly try our best to raise our children, but we're going to mess up, and we have to figure out how we can mess up as least as possible. So today, I want to share with you the 5 most common areas that parents love messing up in, and 5 tips that you can use to really make sure that we can fix those areas. If you're new to the channel, my name is Bennett Schwartz, and I'm a high-performance coach. I work with people both personally and professionally to make sure that they're living the life that they want to be living. So if you want to have a richer life, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Working with hundreds of teens and young adults over the last decade, I found out that there's certain things that parents love doing, and if we could start to tweak them, our kids are going to be more receptive to the things that we're looking to try to teach them. So here are the top 5 things that so many parents get wrong, and different ways that we can start to use in order to make sure that we can work on them. The first place where I want to start is understanding where their responsibility falls. You see, so many times I see a parent speaking to their teen or to their young adult and tells them to take more responsibility. And yes, back in the day, that might have worked, but we all know the parents nowadays who are so difficult because they just want their kids to do the thing. But we live in a different generation now. And what we need to understand is that if we can start to raise our hands and understand that as the adult, we have to be the mature ones, and we're dealing with a teen or young adult who feels entitled to the way that they want to feel, we have to realize that that's more important than being right in that situation. So many times I speak to parents that if their child would only work on X or only work on Y, then they would be so much better off. And what we have to realize is that if the parent can take the responsibility and say, what is it that I could start to change? What is it that I can work on? That's going to be the thing that's going to help us move the needle forward. There was one time I was speaking to this dad, and the dad kept saying if my son would only work on his anger issues, that he'd be totally fine. And he was trying to send him to therapy to work on his anger issues. And yes, his anger issues were really a problem, but it was really stemming from his relationship with his father. And if the father would have been able to just recognize that the son wants to have a relationship with him, instead of just getting yelled at and reprimanded all the time, he wouldn't be as angry. But the father wasn't able to see that. And because the father wasn't taking responsibility, and all that was doing was pushing the kid further away. If our kids are acting out, they're acting out for a specific reason, and they're trying to get our attention. And they know that if they do something quote unquote bad or not good in your eyes, that's going to get your attention. So looking to take ownership first to see what is it that I can do can be the thing that can really start to shift. Parents can't let their ego get in the way with a relationship with their child, because the relationship is so much more important. Look to take ownership and love to try to figure out what it is that you can start to do. The second area that we need to be working on is really the emotional state. You see, this is more new with the newer psychology, but understanding that kids have emotions and they need a place to be able to express those emotions. And so many times parents come into a relationship and they're very closed off, whether they don't have the right skills or whether they don't know what to really be doing. And if a parent can start to say, hey, how is it that I can help my child express themselves? The child is going to be able to only be more successful in the long run. So many times I see these kids who are just suppressing all their emotions, and because they're suppressing them, it bubbles out in other areas. As a parent, we need to understand that our kids have these emotions, and maybe you weren't really brought up that way, but recognizing that it is extremely important for our kids to be able to release that. And they need to do it in a safe place, and not just being thrown into therapy or into a life coach, but really working with them in a place that they can get that guidance. So whether it's with the parent or with somebody else, make sure that you're on board with your child to make sure that they have that place that they can allow themselves to open up. And the third thing we need to understand is that our children so many times recognize when we're judging them. And I think that is something that is so important. And if we could recognize that we don't have to judge our children with everything, even if they're doing something that we're not so fond of, that could be the thing that can really help us. And you might ask yourself, well, Bennett, they're doing something wrong. What am I supposed to do? They keep messing up, then just not getting the lesson. And what we have to understand is that we need to be more curious in the moment and not judgmental. Because even if we don't say anything, but we give them a certain look, that can be as effective to them. And if we can start to work with them to become more curious, that's going to be the thing that's going to help us become more successful. So many times parents are so judgmental and the kids feel the judgment that they only end up feeling worse about themselves. Kids usually act 2 ways. Either they're going to continue to act out, or even worse, they're going to shut down. And that's only going to affect them later on. Because how many people later on felt so judged by their parents that they weren't able to really find themselves in who it is that they really were. So come with some more curiosity and less judgment, just so your kids can start to feel so much better about themselves. The fourth thing we have to understand is the relationship that we're having with them. You see, so many times when a child is younger, we have to be there to teach them. We have to teach them how to walk. We have to teach them how to go to the bathroom, how to eat, to do all these things. But as they get older and they become more independent, what we realize is that we're going from somebody who's teaching them to do everything and telling them what to do to somebody who is going to be coaching them and really being that lighthouse to them that's going to be able to show them the way that they should be going. And parents don't realize that shift, and it's really difficult. So when our kids are going through certain things and we're constantly telling them what to do, it's just only going to frustrate them and end up hurting the relationship. We have to start to recognize what is the thing that we can start to do. How can we start to listen and hear what it is that they're saying? And by doing that, we can start to build that relationship. And what's cool is when we start to build relationships and we have that channel of communication, we're going to allow ourselves to really be able to then guide them with what it is that they want to be doing. So many times that line of communication is so closed off. So anytime we want to really help our child, they're not going to hear us. Really understanding that we need to build that rapport with them and that line of communication, that's going to be the key for us to be able to work with them. And we do that by listening to them and hearing what they're saying. And it's not just what they're saying on the surface level, but what they really mean by that. So when they're saying that they're getting bullied in school, what's really going on inside? What's the real pain over there? And if we could just start to get curious and ask them questions and hear what they have to say without giving our opinion, that's going to be the thing that's going to build us. And the fifth and final area that so many guys and girls come over to me with is that they don't feel safe in their own houses. This isn't just a physical safe, but this is a mental safe. It's such a toxic environment at home, so much yelling and screaming, that they end up not wanting to be involved in it. And guess what? At a certain point, they're not going to have to be involved with it. And if we can start to understand that if we can have a trusting home, a respectful home, even one with rules and boundaries, we can start to step up into the relationships that we want and have our kids coming home in a place where they want to be. It's not something that's easy, but if we can start to build the environment where our kids want to be, that's going to be the thing that's really going to help us take it to the next level. So whether it's taking ownership and letting your ego go, recognize that the relationship is more important than us being right, finding a place that they can let out their emotions and to have a safe place for that. Instead of being judgmental on them, let's be more curious about what it is they're going through. Instead of telling them what to do, let's listen and hear them out. What it is that they're going through. And number 5, building a safe house where they want to be. If we could work in any of these areas, I'm telling you, it's going to tremendously help that relationship that you're trying to have with your child. And you're going to start to see the fruits so quickly. I speak to so many young adults in our Next Gen program, and we're trying to fix the things that really happened when they were living in their houses. And if we could start to work on it before they get out of the house, we'll be able to really fix and really help our children survive and do the things that they want. We know you want your best for your child, but also understanding that we have to do the part that we have to do. And if we could take advantage of that, that's really going to help them springboard them the success that they want. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and watch this next one, which I really think you're going to like.